Hello everybody, Anna Sabranowitz here, and today I will be walking you through how to craft your own interactive story. Okay, so we're going to be going over this awesome diagram today, and I'm going to be walking you through the steps. And let me just get everything set up and then we'll get started, okay? So, make sure I can see your comments. If you are visiting, I would love to have you say hi, and of course, if you have questions about this process and what I'm doing, I'd love to hear them and see them as well. That would be wonderful. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and we're going to get into how to craft an interactive story, is I talk to people every single day, and a lot of them are either super skilled already at tools like Articulate, Storyline, and they're developing their own learning every day, right? But one of the things that happens to a lot of them is they're working at an organization that doesn't allow them really to be very creative, and also they're so busy at their work, they don't have time to really step back and develop their skill sets or take themselves to a different level, right? And hi, Evangelina. So one of the things that I'm thinking about is that, just because there's a lot of shoulds out there, like you should do this, you should always make things engaging, and maybe I've fallen into that trap too before. But one of the things I want to share with you is that just because where you're at right now is not allowing you to build your skill level or be more creative or produce the kinds of learning experiences that make you proud every day, that doesn't mean you can't do that on your own time and actually do something meaningful. And one of the things that I wanted to do this week and over the next couple of weeks is for those people who, maybe can't afford to actually work with me one-on-one or join our community of makers to craft their own interactive stories. Maybe you're stuck. One of the things I want to make sure that you have is at least the frameworks, so that if you want to get started on your own time, you have the tools and resources, right? Because just because you work, some of us, let's say, work at a t-shirt factory, and we want to be, Gucci type designers, runway stuff, we can't blame the t-shirt factory for making t-shirts, right? Whatever. Not that t-shirts aren't cool or anything. But if you want to be an avant-garde designer, it's going to be hard, right? And you can't use the excuse, well, my last workplace only built t-shirts. You gotta, if you have that passion in you to create things that are impactful and change behavior and get people some ahas, that's on you, right? That's on you. And so you want to get good at that, I'm here to help. And so if this is something that you want to get really good at, just pay attention for the next 2 weeks as I go through some of these details and frameworks and some of the things that I've learned while coaching for the past year on interactive storytelling, specifically the lessons that my students have gotten, so that it will benefit you as well. Okay, so like I said, if you have questions or anything is unclear, I'd love for you to ask, because I want everybody to craft the kinds of experiences that make them proud. All right, okay. Hi, Christy. Hi, Di. And hi, Rashid. So wonderful to have you here. Okay, so now, when I talk about an interactive story, it really is an experience that is a catalyst, all right, for other things down the line. And so what an interactive story is supposed to do, it's not supposed to really teach you anything. It's not like a training module, right? What an interactive story does is somebody who is your learner, your target learner, they don't even know yet that the training down the line is good for them, is useful, none of that stuff. They don't care. We consider them a cold audience, right? In fact, their world is perfect right now. So for you to do anything that is like, oh, look, here's some new training, they're confused. They're like, wait a minute, but I'm good at this. Why are you showing me this? I'm already awesome at sales, or I'm already awesome at dealing with customers, or we've always done the same thing the same way, so why change it now, right? So these people are unaware. So your interactive story is what it's supposed to do is show them a world that could be theirs as a result of jumping on this learning journey, help them get some ahas along the way, right? And also maybe identify some gaps, but they're doing this through another character, right? And that's why we have to craft this very carefully. So, and I'm gonna go through beginning to end, what this is, hopefully you guys can see this. And by the way, soon these doodles will go away. I'll have like my pro ones from the course printed, because this is, you know, this is kind of silly because I'm not really that good at drawing. All right. So I'm gonna make this like crisp and clear for you, because I think people overcomplicate this. Like they'll look at the final product of like something out there that's super interactive and is an interactive story, and they're like, whoa, that's too much, I can't do it. They'll look at the surface stuff, it's overwhelming, right? So thank you, Nyla, that's wonderful. An interactive story at its core, 3 elements. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end, all right? Thanks. And this is a key. Your story that has this beginning, middle, and end, and it's funny because a lot of people are like, well, you know, this pretty duh, I know every story has a beginning, middle, and end. Yeah, but we always forget about the end, or we start a story and we don't actually have the character make a transformation in their life. Because one of the things, like I said, this is a way to sell somebody on this future, right? And so you have to have this sexy end at the end. You have to craft where you're taking them so that you're selling them on it. Because my goal as an interactive storyteller is to craft a story that at the end of this, they're like, whoa, where's that training, right? Where's the tutorial? Who can I get in touch with to learn more about this? Because I'm now hot, ready, excited to take on this opportunity, right? So these are the other elements that are absolutely necessary to be here. Hey, thanks, CJ. You have to have a character. The character needs to want something in the future, which is identified as this fancy diamond. It could be anything, and something's in the way. Now, a lot of people will fall into things like, you're a magical pirate, and this pirate wants this treasure. Can you help him find the treasure through these by these puzzles? No. It won't work, okay? This will be fun the first time, and then as an adult, I'll be like, okay, yeah, but what's the point, right? One of the things that you want in your story is for it to be absolutely contextual. We're not talking mythical creatures here. We're not talking dragons, leprechaun, none of that. That theme stuff, forget it right now. Forget it. I want you to craft a story about a real, let's call this dude. What's a good name for a dude? Chris. Chris is right here. He's stuck right now. Something's happening. So Chris is your target audience, but also maybe your main hero, let's say. And you got to pick one, right? And the way things are happening for Chris is he doesn't really see that there's an issue, but something is holding him back. And a lot of times the obstacles that we face are not like a villain or like some bad dude, like think in your life. It's not other people holding you back sometimes, but most times it's like stuff you struggle with, right? You struggle with things like confidence. You struggle with self-doubt. You struggle with so many things. And this is your learner. Your learner is the same person. And if they're trying to get someplace here, and here what is it that they want? What is it that people want? And a lot of us are like, they want more money. That's why they're at work. No, money's a means to something. What is it that they want? What are some things that people want? Some people want to come home and not have to stress out that they're not going to be able to pay the bills, right? Some people want to take their little girl to Disney World when it opens up again, Some people, that's what they want, right? And one of the things is, I know a lot of people think that when you're crafting a story, don't fall into this pattern. They'll be like, okay, but my story has to be like, if my learner looks at this Chris, they'll be like, yeah, it's got to be like, this is for Chris. And so I have to make another story for John, and I have to make so that John can see himself. No, you don't. We are now in an interactive story framework. We're borrowing from Pixar. We're borrowing from Hollywood, right? They've used this over and over. They have characters that aren't even human, and we relate to them. Have you seen Shrek? Right? What happens though is Shrek is a character. Of course, this is entertainment, right? We're trying to do something that actually moves people to action, right? So there's a call to action at the very end of this story. But one of the things we want to do is create a character so compelling and so relatable that even if even if they're not human in Pixar's or their toy, we can relate to them because of their goal, because of their desire, because of their struggle. And that makes it awesome, right? So, I mean, this person doesn't have to be in any way disadvantaged. They could be like the CEO of some company, but there's something that they want and they can't get it, right? Because of something that's getting in the way. Now, this is what's cool. You set this person up in the very beginning, they're stuck in a rut. And then you're like, okay, at the end of this experience, through all these challenges they're going to go through, they're going to become a different person, right? There's going to be a transformation that has to be there. You can't say a lot of our courses, a lot of things that we design are like, yeah, at the end of this, you'll know the definition. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So what your character has to go through transformation. What is that transformation? Is it that they are more confident? Is it that they'll ask more open-ended questions? Like, it could be something that small, although that's not really small when you think of it in the grand scheme of things. That's a wicked skill to have, right? Especially if you're working with people, or maybe this is a leader. This is a leader, and they have a gap. They think that their reviews that they're getting from their team right now are okay, and they're fine. They can't do anything about it, and they see that they want to be the person that whose team wins all the competitions, right, at the company. Well, maybe there's a journey here that we can craft that helps them become the kind of leader that inspires people to action. Maybe their challenge is that they think leadership happens only in certain situations, while there's all these opportunities for them to be a leader and empower their team, So you got to start thinking, what's that thing that gets in the way? And like I said, it's not a dragon, it's not a villain. Usually the things that hold us back in our own lives, it's usually our own inner stuff, our own inner baggage, as you probably can relate, right? So this character just needs to be a representation of one person's story. And it's actually better when you're crafting them that you think of one person, not that you're writing the story of 5,000 employees so they could all relate. No. The more detailed you can make this person, the more relatable as an individual, the better they'll be remembered. And I know this because you probably have a movie that is your favorite, and you have a character there, and you know the details about that character, right? There's certain things that resonated with you. That doesn't mean you had to be that person ever or think that could, was you, but you loved them because of their struggle, their journey, all those things. So think about that. Go to your favorite movies, right? So what I want you to do is step back, be quite, at the very beginning, these planning stages. What's your beginning? What in the middle is going to be all your decisions, all your scenarios, all the agency. And then the end is what's the result? Where are you going to take them? What's the future you're selling them on? What's the awesomeness, right? And it can be when you're taking them to the very end here, this, and you'll see this if you watch, like, it's funny because Pixar is like one of my favorite organizations, and they use the formula for storytelling like every single story. But because we are so wired to resonate with that story structure, because there is a story structure, what happens is that you, even if you're like an analytical, person, and you're like, okay, I'm going to watch for the story structure, you get hooked in every time, and you get lost in the story, you end up crying, and you're like, I was going to watch this for the framework. So that's what's awesome. But if you watch those stories, there's always an extrinsic goal, right, that gets this character to go on the journey, which a lot of times is like, I want to be the best salesperson. I want to be, number one in this. But there's a deeper intrinsic reason, or the reason underneath that takes them there as well, which is they want to be a great dad. They want to be a good provider. They want to make their dad proud, all those things, right? So in fact, this happens, and it's been brought up that there's two journeys of the hero. The hero that's on the outside, the journey that's on the outside, right? And the journey that is on the inside, the underneath journey, which is actually the internal transformation. So there's an external transformation, their situation gets better, and there's an internal transformation. So what I will be going into in the next 2 weeks is, and like I said, if you want to get really good at interactive storytelling, I could talk to you and talk to you and talk to you, but the only way you're really going to get good is by, guess what, doing this stuff. So you're going to have to craft something. Now, if you want to get there a little faster and have some support, then do reach out to me, do a strategy session, and I can actually get you to figure out if a community and me helping you actually do this and getting feedback from your peers is going to be the way to do it. All right. But like I said, you got to start making things, because talking about storytelling and then going away going, yeah, storytelling this, blah, 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 all that theory stuff, it doesn't work. It has no relevance, because you actually have to build things to be credible to me as far as I'm concerned, and actually produce things, right? So if you're passionate about this and you want to make more than t-shirts, you want to actually create a masterpiece that emotionally engages people, here we go. All right. So the next 2 weeks, what I'm going to do is, when you're crafting these pieces, even though I split it up into beginning, middle, and end, right? There's mechanics that are used, especially in an interactive environment, that can take a solid story and a solid journey and take it up a notch, like 10x it, right? So what I'm going to do is and that's what we call in our group, we call the mechanics, right? The learning mechanics. And the mechanics come from all over the place. They come from games. They come from the way that you'd write this. They come from copywriting world, because an interactive story can be just words, which I've done. But if you can mix visuals plus story plus add on awesome mechanics, it's like you're stacking the odds, right? Stacking the odds that you're going to keep people engaged, keep people going through, and get people those epiphanies that you want them to have about, hey, maybe that could be me. I could be this person who jumps on a journey and does this thing. I wonder if I could do that. What's the call to action, right? So that's pretty awesome, I think. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. All right. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be sharing these mechanics with you, and sharing them with you in the context of what's happening in this story, how to use them, and then maybe I'll share some examples of how they've been used in our community. And I think one of the cool things is, like yesterday, was it Monday? Yeah, yesterday we had a session that was run, because we run sessions on Mondays and Fridays in our community. And yesterday we had a session, and one of our members, Kimberly, she's crafting an interactive story, but it's really cool because her interactive story is actually going to be used to draw people in to a training program. So they may have taken it, or they were a part of it before, but now they're going to see it. They're going to see it in context, all this information, and they're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. I got to get there. What can I do next, right? But what's really cool, and that's not even the part of it, what's really cool is what she shared yesterday, is that as she's working on this, and she's been in this business for a while, she's now crafting something where she gets into this flow state, and it's actually like a peaceful, awesome, creative process for her, which to me is like the ultimate of the work you want to be doing. That doesn't actually feel like work. It feels like you're just tapping into your creative flow and doing things that like make you happy, which is super cool, right? And then the other project that was shared by one of our other members, Diane, is she's just having she's introducing interactive storytelling to an organization. And now it's kind of cool, because that process, a lot of us are like, hey, I'm trying to introduce new things into my organization, but I'm facing resistance, right? And of course, this is absolutely normal, because you're introducing new ideas that are foreign to a lot of people who don't design learning. But now she's brought them over, and it's a collaborative experience. So no longer are her clients asking, and they've never did, but they're not asking her, hey, where's the content? This me reviews your stuff and says, hey, where's that? Can you add this PDF? They're not doing any of that. They're talking about the characters and they're saying how they can make them more realistic to their context. And I was like, man, this is the best. When you're actually working with people that get your vision because you've sold them on it and are actually wanting to, share that with you and be a part of that process, because then it becomes greater than what you would have ever imagined yourself, right? It becomes theirs. And the minute you can make it theirs, they're gonna promote it like heck inside the organization, right? So that's super cool. And I love it when things turn out like that, and it just feels so rewarding. But like I said, you got to do this stuff. You got to make it, and we're a community of makers. So if you're looking for a community of makers, we don't talk about theories. We don't talk about how the Gagne's 9 events of instruction. None of that. We don't talk about learning styles. Nothing. We talk about things like, hey, here's your project. Okay, what's working for us? Let's iterate on this. Let's put it out in front of users. Let's put it out in front of other people. Okay. And both Ryan and I give you feedback. And if you're the kind of person who wants to take themselves to the next level and is looking for really candid and constructive feedback about how to make your work better, not just likes on, a platform, if you're actually looking to hone your skills and make this a systematic process, because I think that the way you can be really creative in this business is to separate creativity from systems and processes. And the things that we really try and promote is that there are frameworks that work already, and we're not trying to overwhelm you by reinventing the wheel every time. As a designer, you know that there are certain things that work better for different situations, and there's frameworks and systems underneath those things, right? So what we're doing is we're tapping into this interactive story framework because it is very much a solid framework. I mean, what I showed you here is a very simple version of it, and then you have these other mechanics that you can just plug in depending on your need, your scope, your time. But one of the things that I really want to stress here is that you begin scope first. You're not starting from a blank canvas. We know what a story is. We know what an interactive story is. We know what agency means to people. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish. So if you want to craft your own, I'd love to talk to you. And if you are wanting to learn a bit more and then maybe get into how does Anna do this mechanic stuff? And if it's interesting to you, keep on jumping on these calls, because that's what I'm going to dig into over the next couple of weeks. Now, realistically, I know that some of you can't do this for your own workplace. There are people in our community that actually work for organizations that understand storytelling is super powerful, and they're actually crafting things for their organizations. And there are some people in our community who are also, they've been doing this for years, and now they just want to craft the kind of work they want to do more of. So they want a demo piece. They want a piece that showcases their skills. We've got people who are not only articulate developers, but they're also illustrators, and they're doing their own pieces. It's exciting. I can't wait to promote all of these once they launch. It's going to be so fun. But some people are basically saying, hey, I can't rely on somebody else to give me permission to design something beautiful. I'm going to do it for myself. So that's what they're doing. And if you want help with that and to craft your own portfolio piece, I'd love for you to reach out and talk to me, because that would be so cool. We'd love to help you. All right. So I hope this was helpful, stepping back and just going, okay, it's not complicated here. You just got to start from the basics. Start with where you want to take them, right? And begin from there. And then the other thing is, if you're working with experts, which you will have to, because if you want to craft awesome contextual stories, you have to talk to people who actually do that in the field. You can craft your own story once, right? Based on your experience, once or twice. But to actually do this systematically as a product, as something that you offer in your organization, blah, 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 you need to have good interactions with people. Now, if that's something that interests you, I ran a couple of weeks ago, I ran a whole series of live sessions that are still on my feed, and they go into things like how to work with experts, because we do this, right? how to use the feedback very effectively in your projects. How do you guide that process so you're not overwhelmed and you don't overwhelm your subject matter experts. So if these are things that interest you, and you want to get better at them, or you just want a a completely different perspective on how to approach a lot of these things, because this ain't mainstream, then definitely check those out, or check out or just stick around here and see more of this. All right. Hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. If you like this, then please like it, and then what happens is next time I go live and you want more, it'll actually go to the top of your feed and you get to the notification right away. Okay, so I hope this was useful. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you found it useful. Take care, friends. Bye. See you tomorrow.